It's 5 o'clock. I will call to order the Tuesday, April 25th, 2023 meeting of the Buckland Select Board. We are here in Town Hall, and we are also available on Zoom with the Zoom link available on the town's website. We have the Finance Committee with us tonight, so I will have the Chair of the Finance Committee call them to order.
It's 5:01, and this meeting of the Buckland Finance Committee is April 25th, and we too are here courtesy of the extension of the Governor's Executive Order on Open Meeting Law.
Very good. All right, the first item is the 2023 Annual Town Meeting warrant, and the particular subject of discussion is the Mohawk Trail Regional School District bylaw amendments that have been added to the warrant, and Martha is here to tell us about them. The Chair of the School Committee.
Okay, I thought I was going to answer questions, but I'm happy to talk about it.
What is it? How's
Okay,
that?
so there are, you'll see 3 amendments. Only one of them is really the gist of it. What we want to do is to change the way enrollment is defined for the purpose of assessing towns. Right now, you're assessed on the number of students from Buckland who attend, for your operating assessment, who attend Mohawk Trail district schools. So anyone who attends because they're a choice student, a charter, who does not attend a Mohawk school district school, but because they're a choice student, a charter student, they're out-of-district special education students, they're not counted in your enrollment number. However, the district pays tuition for those students, and they are included in what is called foundation enrollment, which is what the state uses for every single purpose that it has, for funding purposes, for Chapter 70 funding, for grant allocations, for Student Opportunity Act funding. It all comes because of what they call foundation enrollment. And foundation enrollment includes every student who's a resident of the town for whom the town is financially responsible, for their education. If you're in a municipal district, this isn't an issue, because your municipal district pays itself the tuition for other for charter and choice and so forth, but the regional district pays those tuitions, and right now, they're not included in any town's enrollment number. So the upshot of that is that every town pays for that, it's not shared in the same way that our other operating costs are shared based on the enrollment number, because those students are not included. The same thing is true with the capital. It's a little bit different in that in the capital assessment, only students who attend their assigned school are included. So for Buckland Shell purposes of the Buckland Shelburne debt distribution between us and Shelburne, we're only counting students who attend Buckland Shelburne. Again, you're not including anyone who might come back, who's a charter student, who's a choice student. The same thing. We want to, across the board, include as foundation enrollment all of those students. Now, there are certainly towns who have more choice or charter students than other towns, but again, it's all a matter of proportions. If Buckland has 10 students and Heath has 10 students and Ashfield has 10 students, it has absolutely no impact on your assessment. It's all a matter of proportions. It simply, it makes it simpler. It puts us in complete alignment with the way the state calculates enrollment and in all of the ways that it doles out funding. So I know it looks like a very complicated, a very long amendment. That's because there's a lot of sections that deal with our assessments, and it had to be, going through. The other part to remember is that this is phased in over 5 years. So any impact on any town would not, would be felt over a 5-year period, so that we don't believe that there would be much, if any, impact on any town in any 1 year. You were given a financial analysis that our business manager put together, and the way he did that was to look back 5 years and say, if we had been using foundation enrollment for those 5 years already passed, this is what the impact would have been on your on your assessment. It's purely hypothetical, because none of those numbers are going to be used going forward.
Right.
Okay, because it's a 5-year, so the 4 years that we would get next year would be those same numbers, done the same way that they've always been. It's just 1 year would be foundation enrollment. The next year it would be 2 years. The next year it would be 3 years. So you wouldn't have the full impact until FY '29.
Okay.
That's the gist of it. And then there's 2 more amendments. One is just to make another part of the agreement consistent with that, and then there's the effective date.
Does that, Martha, does that include like homeschool children?
No, homeschool
Okay,
children are not included.
yeah.
Private school children are not included. They are not counted by the state as being the responsibility of the town.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is there a short answer to how this came up?
It came up, it became clear that it was a potential problem when we were dealing with the town of Heath and their assessment. And they were concerned that the students who were attending Hallmont they contended they were not really Mohawk Trail students, district students from Heath. That they were attending an out-of-district school and they shouldn't be counted. For lots of reasons, that wasn't the case. The tuition agreement very clearly said that they were Mohawk Trail students, but anyway. But we got to thinking that our agreement was put together long before choice or charter was even considered. And we just haven't kept up with that. So there's always the possibility of some disagreement or about who's a Mohawk Trail student and who's not. So we thought it would just be, and it's also a matter of fairness, because really every town is paying for all of these students through their operating assessment, even though no town includes them in their assessment. So for us, it was a matter of fairness. We had a number of discussions at our budget subcommittee meeting, which Paula attended, about this, and I was kind of like, well, maybe we should not do it, try to do it this year, and
I pushed it.
you pushed it, Asheville pushed it. I mean, we had representatives from 4 different towns there, and they were all, do it, let's get this done. So that's what we did. That's why it's late. It took a while to get this negotiated with the Department of Education, so that we wouldn't get caught by them saying, no, you can't do that way. So I worked with them really hard to get this done. We just barely got it in under the wire, I think.
A lot of people, I'm just going to say this, that have come up and said, well, it's like, are they double dipping? Let me explain. For example, if you're a Buckland student and you are going school choice and we send $5,000 to Frontier, whichever one,
Yep.
that you wanted another $5,000 to
No,
replace that.
no.
Good, this helps me for those
Yeah,
people, because I
sure,
said,
no.
I'll find out.
It's simply a matter of including that student in your overall.
Yeah, I got it. Now the foundation to,
It certainly isn't that we want Buckland to pay the $5,000
Yeah.
for that student. That's,
Right. No, I
that's
got
not
it.
how it works.
Right.
And we
That's
don't
the
expect
same
Buckland to
thing,
pay
yeah.
the $20,000 for a charter student.
Right.
But the district is paying for it, so therefore that cost is split among all the towns.
So
Okay.
just to keep in mind, the one thing that could happen, if a town were to choice out all of their students,
yeah.
right, which.
Yeah, could be.
It could happen, right? I mean.
Like a town of Holly
right,
or something.
Right, a small town decided to choice out all their students, they wouldn't pay anything.
Well, they pay their required minimum contribution,
Required
that was
minimum,
it.
but not the above
Nothing
minimum.
above minimum.
And
right.
so then the district would be paying for all those children.
Well, I didn't think that was right, and I even
No,
called,
and
I even called
it's a
Bob
reasonable-
Rob O'Donnell, who's in finances, and Desi, who's.
Oh, did you?
yeah.
Good for you.
Well, I've known him for a while, so I mean, it's
Yeah.
just to see. And he said, I don't know a lot about it yet. He says, I heard it, so we talked, and he said, don't. He
No.
said to me, "Don't worry," because I said I have to get back to these people that saying we're being.
No, it's simply
yeah.
including those
Appreciate
folks
it, so.
in your enrollment calculation, but we do that throughout the district, and the impact should be pretty minimal, especially over 5 years.
Good, very nice.
Is there a formal or informal recommendation from the Finance Committee?
We're in favor of it
Okay.
because we haven't voted on it, but because it benefits Buckland and it's fair
It's fair.
and it's the right thing to do, it ticks all of our boxes on how we think about things.
Nice.
We hear discouraging words from elsewhere. This has to be unanimous, does it?
It has to be unanimous, like every amendment.
Right.
There were a couple of towns who balked at putting it on their warrant. Both of those towns have since come to realize that they don't really have that option. It is in our regional agreement that the amendments will be put, not may or can, or you might think about it, but will be put on your warrant. And I think as we talk with people, and the school committee reps have been going around and talking with their finance committees and select boards, as I'm doing tonight, and as we're talking with people, it
makes
looks like
sense.
this huge ton of paper, and it's very complicated, and, why did you throw us at us so late? It's really a very simple argument. It's a lot of paper. It's unfortunate.
Right.
But we're
was-
trying to,
I was trying to sift my way through it the other night, and my eyes were starting to go blurry. I'm like, oh,
because they make you put for the warrant, they make you put the whole thing you're trying to do, and then the whole thing that's
Right,
amended.
right.
And that's why we tried to get kind of a red line. These are the major sections that were changed, and then there's an explanation about what it is and what the impact is.
and I think that's probably what a lot of people were kind of worried about was
Yep,
the late rollout,
Yep.
so people haven't really had a chance to go through it
Yeah.
and really be able to digest it.
yep. Well, I think most of the people who come to town meeting, they get their information at town meeting, and they get for us, they get the memo, which is great, and for other towns, they have similar things.
Yeah.
As long as we can get that information in there and make the very simple argument that
Right.
it's consistent with the way the state does it, it's fair for all the towns,
That's what I think.
then let's, then it's
Simpler.
really not. It is simpler,
much
because right now
simpler.
we have three
Yeah.
different formulas that we use for various assessments. It's
Yeah.
nuts.
I have a lot of faith in the finance committee we have here. I really appreciate I've known Paula for a long time, but I mean, and Bob Dean too, my neighbor, but I have a lot of faith because I'm not a financial person, Being a teacher, we were never very financial.
And this doesn't affect this year?
No,
In
no.
any way
No,
whatsoever?
no, I-
Does it have a
Does
big,
nothing
Thank you for explaining it.
does it have a
Yeah.
big impact on any district?
We don't know yet. I mean,
Oh, you don't know.
in the analysis that we did, is
Oh.
5 years all at once, and it's backward looking.
Right,
So when
right.
Larry says it benefits Buckland, if you did it that way, it does.
Yeah,
That's no guarantee that
Yeah.
the way going forward that's gonna happen.
So
There's
it's-
also no guarantee that it's not gonna happen.
fair.
And it does in very small increments.
It
It's
does.
not
That's
like
what
a
I
lot
mean.
of money.
It's
This is
not a
not a
big-
huge.
Heather?
Just a reminder that when there's a lot of voices at once, it does impact
right.
the,
Good, thank you.
I'm sorry, I just,
Absolutely. I have the same problem.
All right.
it's lovely to have the informal, but it does impact our output.
All right,
Thank
further
you.
questions? All right, we haven't taken positions on any warrant articles, so we'll probably do that later, maybe. Okay, thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. now I can
Finance
make my-
Committee is still involved here. With the warrant, any other issues, questions about the warrant from anyone?
I'd like to go through the articles if that's acceptable,
Okay,
because there's sort of a game plan that we want to make sure that we're all comfortable with,
all right.
if that's acceptable. And perhaps you do want to take positions as we go?
Kind of like to do them all at once rather than
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
umping on votes.
Oh, so
All
I
right.
shouldn't, I don't need to stay in, if you're gonna talk about the operating assessment and whether you would support that or not, do I need to stay for that discussion?
You want to jump to that one first,
Are you worried?
unless you want to stay?
I just wanna answer questions.
Why don't we go in,
I'm not worried.
why don't we go in order? Martha doesn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
So Article 1, there are none?
Article 1 is simply to, so in your previous warrants, your Article 1 was to announce the winners of your town election. Since your town election is now after your town meeting, that article is no longer necessary.
Okay.
So Article 1 jumps to the acceptance of the town reports. I know that we're working hard on that town report, and copies will be available at the town meeting. Article 2 is the salaries of elected officials. We'll be moving the amount of $44,854. That covers the largest amount of that line item is your town clerk salary. But it also covers your stipends, the Board of Health, as well as, who else? Oh, the assessors, yeah. Article 3 is the shared police services budget. This is taking for 1 year. We hope that in future years, it goes back into your omnibus operating budget, but we are calling it out simply because it's a change in services.
Okay.
Can I
Dina?
make a suggestion? If you jump, school committee's meeting tonight, so if you just jump to the school.
It's okay, I'm all right,
You're
I've got
okay?
plenty of time, yeah.
So do we want to vote on these as you're going through though?
I think we're gonna vote on all of them at the end.
Yeah.
Because we kind of went through everything
Yeah.
last week,
Yeah.
so.
It's really, the only ones that I really have concerns about are these first 5, but I'm happy to jump to the school.
All right, let's do 7. That's the assessment.
The Mohawk Trail Regional School District Assessment, we will be moving the amount of $2,793,688, which is the assessment that we've received from Mohawk. We would be moving for Article 8, the capital, $90,866. And then those are the only two, there's no new debt that's being proposed. And it's my understanding that Article 8, the capital assessment, will be included in the moderator's consent motion.
All right. So if anyone has questions, Finance Committee issues, I don't believe there are any, but,
We voted unanimously to approve both those articles.
Yeah, yeah, the operating budget, I believe, was a 4.1% increase. Let me, 4 point, yeah, 4.1. So very, very reasonable.
all right, thank you.
Okay,
You wrote it.
thank you very much.
So back to Article 5.
Actually, so staying on Article 3. So the assessment for shared police services is $334,264. This does have the unanimous recommendation from the Finance Committee, and it is representative of our share of police shared services with the reduction of a $77,920 grant contribution. A part of our efficiency and regionalization grant put aside money for the hiring, benefits, training, and equipment for one new officer. Half of that, approximately $38,000, the town will be responsible for in FY '25. So we want to make sure that we're sort of being very transparent, that the assessment of the 334 will increase by whatever inflation value, plus we would have to assume the additional cost of that salary. Article 4, we had originally talked about taking $30,000 of the same grant, the Efficiency and Regionalization Grant, and setting that aside into a stabilization account that would allow us to be prepared for the whatever capital, presumably the cruiser replacement schedule that Shelburne has. The Department of Local Services has said that because we'd be putting it in our stabilization, it's not the same as we would be basically encumbering those funds and not expending those funds. So their recommendation is that we simply pay that sum of money in a check to the town of Shelburne, and they can encumber it. So it's just skipping a step. But what it means is we don't need Article 4. But because the way our budget is set up, I'm asking that we not remove it, that we simply note it at the town meeting as a no motion, no action. So $30,000 will be available for the capital purchase. It just won't be, what did I do? It just won't be going through the traditional town meeting because it's coming from a grant.
Does Shelburne have a stabilization account that they will be placing that in?
They do, they do. It's actually part of the IMA agreement.
Okay.
Yeah. So Article 5 is your omnibus budget. This will have all your town operating expenses with the exception of police services. It'll be at the amount of $1,808,575. Again, has the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee. In the event that Article 3 does not pass, we will be prepared with a motion that will replace the motion that will be in the book. It will represent the inclusion of police services to meet police reform. It'll be higher than the amount in Article 3 by approximately $35,000. Because the Finance Committee has recommended and is supporting a budget that has a deficit of 151,262, we have taken steps to make those reductions in other budget items. So we're certainly prepared, but we're hoping that that budget just stays in the, stays in the folder off to the side. So that's what I just want to make sure that we're all sort of aware of how those first handful of articles will.
And I think that's something that needs to get explained at town meeting as well, when we're introducing Article 3.
Yes.
Is that, bringing this part of it up before we get to Article 5.
Right, right.
So that people can understand that there will be a pretty significant increase.
We still certainly want people to vote their, how they feel
Right.
on Article 3. We're optimistic
Right.
that shared services is supported by everybody, but in the event that it does not pass for whatever reason, we have a alternative Article 5
Right.
motion
So
that maintains that spending.
Yeah, I think at this point, these Article 3 and 5 and others, including the school assessments, it's time to say they add up to 151,262 more than our Proposition 2.5 levy limit. And so the passage of all of these recommendations will require a ballot question to override that levy limit. And what you're saying is that if, that Article 3 represents a savings over what would be the alternative, if we don't have Article 3, we're going to stick to that $151,000 override and other adjustments will be made
To the nickel.
to the nickel. Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
So if the police services doesn't pass, you have a budget that is $35,000 more, right? It won't just get added onto the override. You
No.
have another budget that would be.
She's made some adjustments
So.
in anticipation.
But the finance committee hasn't seen those adjustments.
Not yet.
No,
Okay.
no.
So would we vote that number on town meeting floor without the finance committee seeing those adjustments? Or were
Well-
we gonna see those adjustments before?
You haven't had a meeting, so I haven't been able to
Okay,
bring it
okay.
to you.
So we will see it at
We
some
can vote
point
on it
before that.
tonight.
Yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. The issue is that in order to meet the requirements of the Police Reform Act and going it alone, it represents a significant increase over the shared police service budget. And knowing that the Finance Committee does not want to present a budget that has any greater increase, has any greater deficit
Sure.
than the 151,262.
Something
had
else
to
has
look-
to get cut, and people have to understand that.
Right.
Not only
Something
understand
costs more,
that,
we have to take it from somewhere.
but part of the explanation of the override is it's not going to take us through FY +25. We're only asking for what is absolutely needed for FY +25.
24.
24, excuse me. We anticipate another override for FY '25, and if Article 3 doesn't pass and items are removed elsewhere in the FY '24 budget, that's going to increase the need for FY '25. It's not like it's going to be a free choice. That's going to be complicated to explain.
It is going to be complicated. And I think that, where we've taken the money and is things along the lines of legal, that's anticipated that we would rely on town council, as we have in the past. But that is an area that I've taken money from. Our CDBG grant program, I've taken a significant amount of money from that program. That's money that we would use to pay for application fees and engineering fees in preparation for grant funding. We just simply wouldn't pursue that particular grant. So with these cuts, I've avoided operational cuts, but certainly put us in precarious positions to either, not seek council's advice as often, or certainly miss out on opportunities for future infrastructure improvements.
Okay.
So that is that.
That's 5.
Yep. 6 is your special line items. These are funds that you carry over from year to year. A good example of funds that are appropriated in this line item would be the revaluation, that the money that the assessors use to make sure that our property assessment and values are accurate. And that amount represents $69,736 will be moved in that line item. We've discussed Articles 7 and 8. Article 9 is your Smith Voc. This is tuition and transportation for 2 students that we anticipate will be attending the Smith Vocational and Agricultural High School. That number can always change between now and October, so it's a bit of a projection. The tuition rate has been set about $20,000 per student, and then there's the the transportation is required through Mass General Law that we provide. Your Franklin County Technical Assessment has gone up to $211,330. It's a 6% increase over last year. No, I'm sorry. It's a decrease of 6% over last year. We have fewer students attending. Their capital assessment is $5,911. And that is narrowing down the debt that we owe for the roof that they put on several years ago. Wastewater is next on our list of articles. It's important to note that these articles are paid for through the user fees that we raise through sewer billing each year. The wastewater operational is $367,294. We are seeking capital in the amount of $45,000. That money we're anticipating raising that through retained earnings. You have $122,000 in your retained earnings account for that. Retained earnings is just like free cash, but for an enterprise fund. The sewer commissioners will be taking those budgets up in more detail in their next meeting this evening. The special line item is $840. It's kind of a pesky line, but it pays for the wastewater's portion of our biannual audit. Getting into the town debt service, another article that is anticipated to be on the consent calendar. These amounts represent the amount that we owe for town hall renovations that were done many years ago now, but we took out a USDA loan. We've since rolled that debt into our debt that we took out for the highway garage, so it's really only one payment that we make, but I think it's helpful to show it broken out so people see the principal and interest. That amount is $195,725. Your town capital, we are looking to fund some museum improvements. They've been pecking away at some real safety concerns that they have with the electrical system, and also doing some gutter and window sill repair, trying to keep that building as solid as possible. We're looking to we took a 3-year lease out on 2 expensive highway equipment. One was a loader and one was a mini excavator. We propose to pay the second year's lease payment using this capital appropriation. And then we have another $20,000 that we need to put aside to complete the funding for the F-550 truck that town meeting approved last year. We just simply didn't have enough to make that happen. And then finally, $75,000 for highway paving and repairs. That totals $222,500. I need another line there to show the total.
600, is it
I think it's supposed to be an F-550.
F-550, right?
Yes, thank you. I'll double check that. That is all proposed from free cash. We did certify enough free cash to be able to pay for these expenditures without it touching taxation or stabilization, which is great news. We're taking Article 17, taking another $20,000 from our free cash to fund our OPEB, which is quite a liability, and I'm happy to say that this is the third year that we've been able to put money aside for that. So that's good. And that's the end of the finance articles, and the Finance Committee did unanimously recommend each of them, so that's helpful. Article 18 establishes a revolving fund for your opioid settlements. This is not a lot of money, but we have to have a legal location within our budget to be able to accumulate those funds. We have not determined what they will be expended on, but this is a good interim step. Prior fiscal year invoices, we have one invoice in the amount of $158 to Eversource. They didn't let us off the hook, so we've got to pay it. This is a 4/5 vote because it's a prior fiscal year bill. I'm expecting that we'll take it from free cash.
So you're going to do minor changes in the warrant, change invoices to invoice?
Yes, yep. Barry?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, paying that $150 some odd dollars should not come from free cash. We have a policy in the use of free cash, and it shouldn't cover operating expenses.
Okay,
So,
I will take it from available funds.
reserves or something, yeah.
Don't have reserves in a new fiscal year, but
Oh.
I will.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I will reduce another budget by $158. Done.
Or the person who
Sorry
failed to
about
bring it to
the additional
town hall
monkeying
can-
around.
yeah.
Yep. Nope, that's fair enough. Article 20, this is an article that is associated with the road reconstruction that we intend to do on Upper North Street. Because we are using Mass DOT funding, and because there will be easements that will need to be taken for the utility work and for the drainage, there's this large amount of jargon that needs to be recited at town meeting. Essentially, it's enabling the select board to move forward with the taking of those easements. And we will do so according with the federal acquisition guideline, which requires a full appraisal for each of the parcels.
Are the property owners aware of this?
Yep, well, they all attended a public hearing. Or many of them attended a public hearing. They were able to look at the plans and see the potential easements. And then as soon as the 75% plans are approved at the Mass DOT level, then the pause button comes off my role and we'll start the appraisal process and the notification. It's a very formal and multi-stepped process, which we will do. Article 21 is your Woodlands Partnership. This is an article that has come up a number of times. Previous boards have been reluctant to approve it themselves, wanting it to be a town meeting decision. This is the first time that we've been eligible to put it on a town meeting warrant, so there it is.
And it's basically giving us a seat at the table.
Yes, absolutely. And then Articles 22, 23, and 24 are the amendment articles that you've already discussed with Martha.
Questions, comments?
Thank you for indulging me on that.
No, I think that's
it-
a very good thing. And for some of us, or maybe all of us, it was repetitious, but very helpful.
Where we do have some nuances, especially early on in the process, I think it's important that as many times as we get a chance to talk about it.
Okay. Lenny, on this subject?
Yes,
Yes.
Lenny Kelsey, 39 William Street. I want to talk about Article 17, but I do have kind of a general comment, if I may. And that is, those of us in the room who remember Loretta Young, she would fly out through her double doors and she would say a proverb. And one proverb she would say was, I cried because I had no shoes until I met a man I had no feet. So on Article 17, if we could go back there, I just don't understand why when we're talking about a crunch, we're talking about our police department, that we're going to put $10,000 into a museum up in Upper
Oh, you're
Buckland.
talking about
Article 16.
Do I understand that correctly?
Yes.
So, yes, so and I'll just start the answer and let the board finish, but the difference is that this is free cash that we're using to spend on these capital items, and we can't use free cash for operating. And the police department assessment would be considered operating.
Would there still be, in this desperate time, a better place to put free cash, whether into a museum in Upper Buckland, because it's so specific to a region that it really devotes a lot of cash. I remember several years ago, many trees were fallen at the great expense to the town. It seems like Upper Buckland has a lot of political pull, and things happen that are very generous to that area. I applaud them if they have that pull, I do.
Well,
But I have to say that I just don't see that in this desperate time as legitimate.
This is a town-owned building, and it has been, I'll say, ignored, neglected by the town for many years. It has been limping along with volunteers and volunteer funding, and I think it's our judgment that it's time that we start. And it's from free, as Heather said, it's from free cash. It does not impact the override.
But if I could
Sure.
join in from the Finance Committee, we looked at this carefully, and what got our attention was we're dealing with public safety issues. We have fire hazard problems here, so there's a safety and health concern, which is a red flag. Were something to happen, and we were aware of this problem, and we took no action, we would have a problem to face. So we're attending to a condition that needs remediation.
Lenny?
Maybe you could answer this question to the public. I sat many months ago in a presentation by Mike
McCusker?
The Raymond, I believe, and they did a presentation. So there was a lot of grant money also coming in for this improvement. You must know more about this. I sat in on this meeting. Randy Berry's smiling, so I think you might remember this, because they did about a 3-minute presentation about the grant money they had, and I guess they came up short of that 10,000. Could you elaborate on that?
I can't. Dina?
Hi, Vinnie. The grant is for the restoration of the English barn on the Wilder property.
So they were combining the two.
No, there's two things. There's Center School, which is a property owned by the town. The 10,000 is to correct safety issues in a town-owned building that also houses the historical collection, but it's owned by the town. The grant that you remember hearing about is a grant for the restoration of the English barn, special building, the English barn on the Wilder property.
Thank you. I think the public would be happy to know
Yeah,
that.
so there's two different things we're talking about.
The
And when I
Wilder
asked the
property is not owned by the
question,
town.
No, I appreciate your.
Well, I asked a question because I know people
Okay.
watch this and they're not here.
Very good. Thank you. Further comments or questions? So I think there are two actions for us to take. One is to approve the warrant, correct, and sign it. And the other is to recommend approval of all. We have, I don't know of any,
The Finance Committee has an obligation to understand better the fallback position in the folder so that we can approve that and then in good faith approve meeting
We-
inside the meeting.
Well, that's not
Will you
gonna-
allow me the slightly clumsy opportunity to get that pulled up, or?
I guess I'm just thinking it doesn't really impact on our recommendation nor the warrant, correct?
We could do it after.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can do it
please.
after.
Retroactively,
Yeah,
if that's,
and if we need to vote on it, we can.
If you don't like it, you can bring it back to us and.
okay,
All right,
good.
I'd prefer that.
Okay, yep, absolutely.
So, motions, please, to approve the warrant as written? With those little tiny, you're gonna change a couple of little things.
Yep.
Total and.
Yeah, I gotta put a total there and then remove the word S from invoice.
And change the 600 to 550.
Yeah,
But I want to double check, so I want to double check. I think that the truck that's being built is a 600.
So we changed it, yeah.
So I'll just, I just need to, it was a lower, they couldn't get the F-550,
Got it. That's right.
Okay,
right? But I will double check that.
okay. I have a motion to approve the warrant, and sign the warrant.
You do?
I do.
Well,
Yes.
I second it then.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, it's unanimous. I guess we can reconstitute notes, but in votes. Further motion to recommend approval of all warrant articles?
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, it's unanimous. Good, wow. Does it not, for those big items?
Well, you have your ballot question. We want to
Okay.
approve the ballot question. And Karen, our town clerk, brought up a very excellent, as she does, she digs into explanations and found that the ballot question request, or that the format of the ballot question has to have a "for the purpose of" statement. So she took the liberty of putting together, basically giving us the page from the Proposition 2.5 override DOR book, what some options might be. We want to make sure that we don't target anything that we're not willing to cut should the override fail. So for example, public schools and the municipal government, that would not be applicable because we have no intention of touching the assessment for the public schools.
Well, it'd be
So-
funding our town's operating budget, isn't it?
Yeah, or funding operations and, because we're not doing any capital under so I just want to make sure that this is a group discussion. We sat and talked about it this afternoon at our staff meeting, and I said, you know what? This is not a decision for us to make. This is a decision for the finance committee and the select board.
Well, the thing that would change would be the operating budget.
Yeah.
If the
Okay.
override doesn't pass, it's the operating budget that's gonna have to
Yeah, that's
change.
So this is the language of the ballot question?
Yes.
The purpose language?
Yeah, so,
For the purpose of funding the town's operating budget is
Okay.
how the language would read.
yeah. All override questions require a statement of purpose or purposes for which the additional monies will be used. The purpose used in the question must be a spending purpose. This means that the community has to appropriate. It can't be that it can't be a negative, that you can't say to maintain
Right.
your town administrator's salary, for example. Will pick on me.
So what goes in the blank? Those,
Funding the town's
First one,
operating.
the first bullet, yes, I think so.
Okay.
We got you, Barry.
Got it.
Okay, so with that modification, we would seek a motion to ask the town clerk to place, you've already voted to place the ballot questions 2 and 3 on the warrant. So the motion would be,
Clarifying question, if I may. I see 2,000 and then the
I don't
number
think
23.
That's really odd.
With the
yeah,
question.
that's,
Would it be spelled out 23?
no,
That's the format.
that's the format.
Format they.
Yeah.
Format 2,000 and then
Yeah.
a numeral?
Yep,
Wow.
yep.
Let me get
I-
that. That's like a copy.
I promise you, we went back to that several times today in the book.
Unbelievable.
That's how you make
Our government's
sausage.
illiterate.
What a country.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the addition of a ballot question asking the voters to approve an override of levy limit for the purpose of, what was the wording?
Funding.
Funding the town operating budget in excess of our Proposition 2.5 increase allowance. The amount of the override request to be $151,262. Pending? We don't say it. Okay.
No.
Period.
No, because all you're doing in this motion is asking the clerk to make sure that this is on the ballot.
Okay.
Second.
I'm just reading.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It's unanimous.
Barry, for clarification purposes, in the Finance Committee's opening remarks, we're going to be very explicit about the process that we're undertaking here. It's a two-step process. That the vote at the annual town meeting is to place it on a ballot for the June election. Then everyone needs to show up for the June election and actually vote up or down on the override.
Okay,
I'll make that extremely explicit,
very good.
because Phoebe has hit me hard on this.
Think we're done with finance and warrant, and
I think
I
so,
think so.
I think so.
Thank you. We have other stuff, but
Yeah.
It does raise the question of what the alternative budget, if we have to do version 3.1 on the police. And we have not seen the alternative budget, and I don't think it's likely has. But I do believe that we need to be prepared to support that in the unfortunate case that 3 goes down. So how would you like to review that now, or?
I
Because
would
you're gonna
rather,
have to approve that as an alternative, right?
well, you will be making the motion.
Yeah, well, and we can't because we haven't seen it.
Right. But you're going to meet again, right?
We're still meeting,
We're still meeting.
and after we can leave this room.
Also, when you close your, we'll go into that.
Oh, we'll go in the
into
other
our
room and-
alternative
Okay, never
meeting
mind.
space, have a meeting on this very topic, and then report back to
Thank
you.
you for clarifying.
Yeah, and, a question I raised is that if we have cuts to make to the operating budget, the obvious question is, okay, why don't you cut them anyway? And reduce the override to 121 or 120? And I think the answer to that lies in the items that are going to be recommended,
And-
if necessary,
in-
and the impact on the following year.
Absolutely correct. And in the Finance Committee's report, we will make it very clear that this is a very skinny budget, that there is nothing squirreled away, there's no excess anywhere, and it's the bare bones model. And we are only asking this year to cover the deficit for this year. We'll see what happens next year, but this is what we're doing this year. In the event that the override does not pass, the Finance Committee will go back to the drawing board and create a new budget that will reflect $151,262 worth of cuts, which will be a dramatic impact on town services. And I'm going to make that very explicit at town meeting.
Will that new budget have to get passed then?
Well,
Special
have
town
it
meeting?
will, a special town meeting to vote the new budget, and everyone show up for that one.
And/or
Be a lot of
Another
upset
ballot
people at that meeting.
Yeah.
be it the same amount or a lesser amount.
Yeah.
There will be options, none of which will be very,
And if it doesn't pass at all, we go to a 1/12 budget, right?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yes.
That's the point.
well, yeah, I mean, if it doesn't pass the first time, we'll have to start that on July 1st, because we won't have another ballot question or alternative until.
Well, but if we cut, we wouldn't have to have another ballot question, because there wouldn't be a 2.5 override to vote on.
If we're able.
If we have to, if the 2.5 gets voted down, and we have to make all these cuts, it doesn't have to go back to a ballot question.
But you don't have.
No.
I don't think you
You'd
have
have to
enough
go to a
time
special town meeting.
Have to have a special.
Yeah,
town
you don't
meeting.
have enough time to hold a special town meeting
Right.
before July 1st.
Correct. We wouldn't be able to make all those adjustments and changes before
Right.
July 1st.
No.
Okay, good.
It's our worst nightmare.
So we're still meeting, but we're
We can leave it
we're
in
gonna
the
leave.
room.
All right.
Thank you for,
We'll go in there.
yeah.
We're meeting.
Thank you again for all the work, I mean it.
No later than
Chair with you?
6:30, because we have another meeting.
Do you want to take this?
Oh, sure.
This is,
Is that,
yeah, the stuff that's in yellow.
Wow, thanks.
Same.
Would the minutes please show that I'm leaving the chair in this room
For now.
for now?
All right,
Sorry.
we'll get the public comment if it's not something else, all right?
He has my laptop. He's got my laptop.
Next item
Why don't
on
you shut that door, Heather?
the agenda is sewer administrator. We have a situation in which we are in possession of an opinion from the Ethics Commission that our current setup of the town administrator of Buckland and the sewer administrator of the Sheldon Falls Sewer District is a conflict of interest for that person, which needs to be resolved in one way or another. Obviously, it can be resolved by having the sewer administrator be another person, or the town administrator being another person, or the town of Buckland both appointing the sewer administrator, which I think has never formally been done except in terms of the contract that we've approved with the town administrator, and, for want of a better word, waiving the conflict of interest. Basically, we're saying it's not enough of a conflict for us to be concerned about it. We have some signals from the Shelburne Sewer Commission that they may want to consider alternatives to the current setup. And so my proposal for tonight is that the Buckland Select Board appoint Heather Butler as the interim sewer administrator and, again, waive, for want of a better word, the conflict of interest that involves. And we would then suggest to the Shelburne Sewer Commission that they do the same thing, and that perhaps they want to take a lead on investigating other alternatives, which could be different than the past, or could eventually be the same as it has been in the past. I don't know whether I've made that clear, but that's the way I'm seeing it right now. Comments? Okay. So I will move that we appoint Heather Butler as the sewer administrator of the Shelburne Falls Sewer District.
I will second.
Okay. So there'll be a subsequent motion, but we'll do that one first. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That's unanimous. And then the second would be to approve the fact that we do not consider the conflict of interest that has been communicated to us to be significant enough to have any concerns about her performance to the town of Buckland or the Sewer Commission. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. All right, we will report this to the Sewer Commission at 6:30, which basically means reporting it to the two Shelburne Sewer Commissioners. Contract document, so we heard this Mass in Motion presentation last week or 2 weeks ago. Or was it 3 weeks ago? It was 2 weeks
It
ago.
was last week, wasn't it?
No, it was last week. I knew there was a postponed meeting.
Pretty sure it was last week.
It was last week. It was very attractive, very compelling. I expressed a little concern about the administrative effort that might be required and yet another volunteer needed. But
But I think we had three people willing to
Yeah.
step up in
And,
that meeting as well, so.
our town administrator says it shouldn't be a big extra burden for her. So, we have a
Make a
motion.
motion to approve the Mass in Motion Age-Friendly Planning Memorandum of Understanding with the Franklin Regional Council of Governments, and accepting the grant funding of up to $4,230 for age-friendly planning purposes.
I'll second
Okay, further discussion?
And that is just the amount to go through the end of June.
Oh,
There'll
that's
be another round of grant funding after that as well.
Yeah, presumably we would have to approve that when it
Yeah.
comes. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, that's unanimous. The next item is actually a 48 hours item, but it's been added to our agenda. It's the special one-day license for the bridge dinner, the applicant being Jennifer Pease for the Mohawk Athletic Association. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the special one-day liquor license for Jennifer Pease, representing the Mohawk Athletic Association, to allow the consumption of alcohol at the annual bridge dinner on August 20th, 2023, from 2 to 9 p.m.
I'll second that.
All right, further discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, it's unanimous. We're through Mass in Motion and the one-day.
Okay.
No other items, 48, not, less than 48 hours in advance. Select board member concerns, other than the sewer
Did we want to
commissioner?
do them, approve the minutes?
Oh, okay, yes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 28th,
I'll
as
second.
written.
I'll second.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no, it's unanimous. Town administrators report.
I just have a couple of items for you this afternoon. Let me just scroll through the minutes. Yesterday, the town participated in a bid opening for the municipal electricity aggregation RFQ or RFP. Other towns participating were Charlemont, Coleraine, Conway, Deerfield, Gill, Huntington, New Salem, Northfield, Shelburne, and Sunderland, Warwick, and Whately. We opened those bids. Two companies had responded, Constellation and Dynegy. Dynegy was the low bid. They offered pricing for 24 months. We had hoped, or we had asked for a 3-year, for a 36-month commitment. However, they felt that the market was too volatile to go that far out. As a result of that, you had authorized me to lock in pricing for up to 3 choices. The 2 that we have been offering since 2020 is the standard electric default, which is without any additional renewable energy opportunities. The second was the National Wind Rex at plus 38. And then we had one more to add, or we had the option to add one more, so I went with Mass Class 1 Rex at 50% renewable energy. This is the pricing that we are locked into for the next 24 months. And when I say we, I mean those who have chosen to opt into the municipal aggregation option. By comparison, you have your Eversource figure here at just under 16 cents, and you're in National Grid. I think everybody in Buckland is an Eversource customer, not a National Grid customer, but they offer these pricing points, so I share. It is a 50% or just slightly over 50% increase over the aggregate pricing that we've had and enjoyed since 2021. But that is reflective of the market, and certainly it's getting closer to what National Grid and Eversource are offering. But still, especially for the default, it's still 5 cents cheaper. So I will put this on the Energy Committee's website tomorrow morning because there's some additional information here. Here are the actual bid prices that came in for all of the different options. You can see that in addition to the default, which is here, and the WindRECs that are here, there were other Class 1 rec options and Class 2 options to choose from. I went middle ground with a 50%, figuring that might be more appealing to more people, as opposed to a 25% or 38% or 100%. We have the option in another 24 months to continue to fine-tune this as our customers let us know. I will also upload this additional information. This shows the Eversource, the past, and then some projection here for pricing that we anticipate seeing for those who choose not to use the aggregate. That's National Grid, not really relevant. And then some additional data. So all of this will be uploaded tomorrow to the Energy Committee's website. And as always, those who are participating have the option of canceling their participation at any time by calling Dynegy and telling them that they no longer wish to participate. Or if somebody is not participating and wishes to begin participating, they can also call and become enrolled. And if they're not satisfied after a month, they are welcome to then discontinue. It is very easy, the onboarding and offboarding. And I do recommend that if you have questions, that you check out the Energy Committee's website. There's quite a bit of information. We get quarterly reports from Colonial Energy Group, or Colonial Power Group. They're the company who manages all of this for us. Thank goodness, because it's way above my pay grade. But they send us quarterly reports. Every quarterly report gets uploaded to the Energy Committee's website so people can see how many people are participating and how many people are joining each time and what that energy consumption is.
Current subscribers get notified of their
Yes,
ability
yes.
to opt in, choose, and
Yep.
or opt out.
Yep.
And
Mailings will be going out. This is effective January 1st, so there's still some time to enjoy the low rates before this takes effect. But we wanted to make and we talked a little bit as a group, all of the communities that I've acknowledged were all on the call. We talked about the idea of, because it is a 50% increase. You know, there's nothing insignificant about that. We talked about rejecting these bids and going back out again. But we figured that with the summer months coming and the volatility in the market, that we were not likely to see better pricing going forward.
Were the two close?
They were very close. very close, within less than a tenth of a penny. It was remarkable how close it was.
And mailings to those who are not participating or notices in some other way?
Yeah, so I think that what we'll do is we will, or what Colonial will do is they will mail it out to all eligible customers. So anybody that is participating or that has the opportunity to participate with all of this new rate information. And again, those who see this, who have been participating and enjoying the 9 cents, may say, well, I might as well just go back to Eversource, and that's completely fine. But those who, it is still a savings for the wind rec and the standard default. But for those that really feel more, I guess, conscientious about their renewable energy consumption, that 16 cents is certainly competitive. So.
Okay. No action on our part.
No action, yeah, it's a done deal, for better or for worse. I certainly hope that I acted in a way that is reasonable, and, I appreciate, we had some individual emails back and forth for me to be able to gauge your impressions. We've had this at our last couple of select board meetings. This seemed like something that would appeal to the majority of people, and it is optional. So, disappointing news from the Buckland Library. Our librarian for the last year, Sarah Salem, has reluctantly resigned her position. And the trustees will advertise that position for seek a replacement. It is a part-time, half-time position, but it is benefit eligible. So we're hoping that somebody with the library background comes forward and picks up where Sarah left off. Sarah was absolutely incredible to work with, and I will miss her, not just professionally, but personally. She was really very much a nice addition to Team Buckland.
She was very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
excellent.
And
So.
Effective when?
That I don't know.
Okay. And
I believe at the end of the month.
and as usual, unfortunately, the trustees will fill in as needed or get other volunteers to.
Yeah. They'll advertise that in the Recorder. We'll have it on the website tomorrow, and we'll try to get the word out as much as possible. And then lastly, the topic of every meeting, the Conway Street reconstruction detour. The detour continues to be in place, although I do understand that it was opened over this past weekend. I wasn't notified, so I apologize to everybody that did not know. I have tried my darndest to maintain open communication with the contractors and Mass DOT. It has been very challenging these past couple of weeks to do that.
Well, it was open on the weekends anyways.
Yeah. Well, it was,
I
but
think it was a day, like, was
Yeah.
it Monday morning or something? It was one of the days during the week when it was supposed to be closed, I think, is when it was open.
yeah. Okay, that's what it was.
I think so.
Okay.
So, because they've been opening it, it's been open at night, it's been open on the weekends.
Good.
When they're not working there,
Good.
it's been open, so.
The concern is now, as we approach the conclusion of week 4, which was the assurance that we all had that it was only going to be closed for an additional 4 weeks, whether or not they're going to be able to meet the deadline to open it effective Monday. I do have several emails out to Mass DOT requesting that information. As soon as I know, I will post that on the website and send it out as a blast. So,
It's close. It's close.
yeah, I certainly hope so.
Yeah,
I
think so.
I don't know if our residents can take much more. I know.
All right.
I don't even want to make eye contact. So that's all I have for you tonight, unless there's anything that, in particular, that you have questions about.
Pool is still on track?
Pool is very, you know, the smartest thing I ever did was put Pam and Cindy in charge of that project. It's going so well, and they are doing such a great job of managing the details of that and working with the contractors. I don't think the contractors are going to want to leave. You know, Cindy's been up there doing what Cindy does, and yeah, it's a great project. And did you hear about the tile? Did they update you on that? So we didn't have it in the budget to add any of the fancy tile to the surface. So it's going to be a very beautifully installed and smooth concrete and then painted. So it'll still be lovely.
So they're stamping it, stamped
Right,
concrete.
right. But I guess the contractor was finishing another project and had a substantial amount of tile left from that project and brought it to Buckland and asked if he could install it on the stairs. So the stairs will be really nice and tiled. And it's that type of benefit that we get from having somebody like Pam and Cindy managing that project, because they've done very well representing us and have obviously earned the appreciation and respect of the contractors.
Collaboration.
Yeah, if you had me up there, there'd be no tile.
Oh, no.
So I guess I just want to make sure that everybody knows how well it's going. So,
All right. Public comment. Yes?
Okay, I have two questions. One is for the board and one is for Heather. So about 45 minutes ago, when the finance committee was in the room, I thought I heard a comment that was referring to if there was an override, it would be because of the cost of the police department. Back in 2007, the override was due to the Mohawk budget. So my question to the board is, why do you assume that if there is an override, it would switch from Mohawk over to the police station?
I don't think we said that.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It'll be on page.
The override isn't for anything in particular. It's everything adds up to an amount that is higher than the levy. It isn't for anything in particular. The police budget is going up. The shared police budget is more than the last year's budget, or this year's budget. We're still in this year. It's less than it would be if we go it alone. Obviously, the school assessment is up, but the override isn't for any particular thing. That's why the subject of the override that we put in that blank line was town operating budget.
The price of everything has gone up this last year, and the finance committee has spent previous years nipping and tucking everything that we had for money, and they can't do it anymore. And with the way that everything shot up price-wise, even if we were to level fund every department this year, we'd still be needing a 2.5 override to be able to pay all of our bills. So it's not just any one increase, it's everything
I think if you
in the
listen to
scope.
the tape, you might hear yourself saying it.
I think I'm sorry, I was gonna say, I think what it was the fact of, if this doesn't pass, the shared police, it's going to cost Buckland more. That's probably what was said.
Okay,
Because I think that, I'm only assuming, I think so, because we'd have to then get our own chief and our own this and that could be, I think that's what it was.
But if someone misspoke, we certainly.
Yeah, we didn't mean to, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just trying to clarify
yeah, good.
what I
Thank you.
thought I heard.
Yep.
Because in 2007, it was strictly because of the Mohawk budget being served.
This is just general operating, correct? We said that was.
Well, if that's what was said, then we would retract that.
Yeah.
Because that's not what it's.
Oh, yes, you would, because you listened to the dog tapes, the
Right.
conversation with the previous meeting.
No, I mean, we would retract that statement if that's actually what we had said.
Thank you. All right, my question to Heather is to do with the Conservation Committee, that I have concerns about the wetlands on Sear Street. Could you tell me, there's a house that's condemned on Sear Street. It's been condemned for a while, but now there is a sign up that says condemned. That house was being up for sale, I'm gonna say a decade ago, and I went and viewed it for a friend of mine who thought he wanted to move here. And it was really a lovely French-style home. But when you went into the cellar, as you walked down the cellar stairs, there was a spigot coming out from the west end with dripping water into a big bucket. So that meant there was some underwater penetrating through the other side of Sear Street into that home. The home is now condemned, it's been vacant for years. My question to Heather is, how does a house become condemned? Does the bank condemn it, or does the Board of Health from Buckland condemn it?
I couldn't say in particular to that situation because I haven't been involved. I think there's a number of different avenues that a property would find itself in that circumstance, but I couldn't speak to that particular.
So I'm glad I brought it
Yeah.
up then, since that was one of my questions. And I did notice throughout the wetlands problem over there on Sear Street, there seemed an excessive amount of water coming in underneath Sear Street into their cellar. I actually thought it was quite quaint because it was a lovely house. Little did I know about water intrusion at that point.
Yeah. We had, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It would not be the bank that would condemn the house.
Who would?
It would be between the Board of Health, the building inspector, even the electrical inspector. Any one of those three entities or all three of them.
Would the Conservation Committee have access
No.
to that information?
No, that wouldn't be Concom. Like I said, it would either be the Board of Health or the building inspector, or your electrical inspector. They can condemn properties, for safety purposes.
Wet cellars are not uncommon in Buckland. I live on Elm Street, and I can tell you it's all ledge and all clay, and when you wake up after a rainstorm and didn't have water in your cellar, you're thinking, uh-oh, something's wrong somewhere. So it's a very common thing right here in western Massachusetts, particularly in some of our little on the hills and stuff. So, but yes, it's a nuisance.
Any other public comment? Okay, I'm ready for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We're going to hit announcements.
I'm anxious to get adjourned so we can
I know you
reconvene.
Yeah.
Yeah, the meetings, I don't
We got
have
15 minutes. No, don't rush yourself.
The annual town meeting we've been talking about is May 6th at 10 a.m. at the Mohawk Trail Regional School Auditorium, not out in the parking lot. The select board meetings for May have been changed. They are now May the 16th and May the 30th. And the annual town election is June the 6th. And unlike previous elections, those who are elected on June the 6th take office the next day. So,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
further comment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye, opposed no. It's unanimous. Thank you and good night.